Unboxing, assembly and review of an eBay acrylic synth stand. I realise that the title, an eBay synth stand, is a little cryptic. However, I don't think this has a maker's name, and they only seem to be available through this trader, so I'm assuming he actually makes the stands as well. Obviously, this is an independent review, as I know nothing about the trader, and I'm paying for the item myself. So you can be sure, if nothing else, this review will be completely honest. The eBay trader is called Joseph Newton, and he's got 100% positive feedback, which is really reassuring when you're buying something off eBay. And looking at his listings, he's got a whole selection of different synth stands. However, the one I want, and I really need, is the one for a Behringer RD8 or 9. And this is because I have an RD8 and an RD9, and I'd like to be able to use them both at the same time. From the moment I ordered it, it took just over a week for the package to arrive. And I photographed the package here alongside a guitar to give it scale. Let's open it up. The unboxing. The package is quite heavy, so I'd imagine if it was being shipped overseas, it'd be quite expensive. As you can see, I've speeded up the unboxing by 3 times, so the video's not too long and boring. Inside the box, the stand is wrapped in bubble wrap, so I obviously have to remove this. The stand components are all covered in protective film, so they don't get scratched or damaged during shipping. I'm going to leave as much of the protective film on as I possibly can, so I don't scratch any of the surfaces whilst I'm assembling the stand. The tune I was playing during the unboxing is part of the trio of Spanish tunes that you can learn to play in Book 2 of the GCH Guitar Academy fingerstyle guitar course. I'll put a link down below in the description to the full tune. The contents of the box. In the box are the 2 side panels, the 2 shelves, the instructions, 2 structural beams, and the pegs you need to hold the whole thing together. The instructions they've provided are for the 4 shelf version, but I'm guessing they've just had one set of instructions produced for all their shelving because the same principles apply. They look really straightforward and there's no tools required. Assembling the synth stand. I'll follow the instructions, but I won't show every step. I'll just show the important parts. Step 1 is to put one of the sides down and then to fit all the components into that side without using the pegs to hold them in place. The second step is to put the second side on and to peg it loosely into place, but be careful that everything is at the right angle so you don't break any of the tabs. I've chosen to put the two thinner structural beams on after I've put both sides on, but before I've pegged them into place. And this is just because I couldn't hold all four components upright whilst putting the sides on. The tabs are a very slight wedge, so they only go in one way, but they go in really easily and they hold everything nicely in place. But I must remember at this stage not to push them in too tightly. The next step is to flip the whole stand over carefully so you've got access to the tabs on the first side. Now you can push the last few tabs in. Once all the tabs are in place correctly, you want to put the stand upright and push all the tabs properly into place without pushing them too hard. Because I chose to leave the protective film on, I can now peel all that off. I'll speed this bit up again because it's very fidgety. Once you've triple checked that the tabs are firmly in place, the stand is ready to go and you can put your equipment on it. It's worth me pointing out that they give you extra tabs. I've got 4 leftover tabs that I'll put away somewhere safe. I'm assuming they give you these in case any of the others break. Just as a couple of footnotes, the first one being, I thought the shelving was symmetrical, but it's not. So when you're putting it together, make sure the shelving's facing in the right direction. And a second footnote is, even though it's not suggested in the instructions, I'd recommend you make sure all the pegs are pointing downward, and then if they work their way loose, gravity will hold them in place. Tests and conclusion. I've called this chapter Tests and Conclusion, but there aren't many tests you can do on something like this. It either works or it doesn't. The shelf sits on the desk very flat with no wobble, and the construction is very rigid. There's no wobble in that either. And encouragingly, for something that has drum machines on it and will be near speakers, there's nothing that can vibrate on the stand either. When I put both drum machines on the stand, it holds them really well and it takes the weight without straining at all. And because of the extra weight, it actually becomes even more stable. Even though it was listed as being a stand for a Behringer RD8 or RD9, it'll actually fit any synth, device or anything really that's got a size of 270mm by 510mm. Just to demonstrate this, I tried it with a DeepMind 12, which is deeper than the drum machine, and it's a wedge shape. But even then it worked perfectly. And I also tried it with a PreSonus Fader Port 8 and a Fader Port 16, which were deeper than the recommended sizes, but it worked perfectly. So to conclude, I really like it. It's strong, it's stable, it looks good, it's got a kind of posh music shop look about it. And the transparent material allows lighting so you can see all around your instruments. I really like the construction style. People have been using this style of construction for thousands of years, but it still works today in the 21st century. And it has the advantage, if ever you have to pack it away, you can. You just take the pegs out and pack it away neatly, and you can put it back together again. The angle they've put these shelves at is absolutely perfect. When I'm standing in front of it, I can see all the knobs on both devices absolutely perfectly. So I don't have to move my head round or fumble around in the dark to find some control or other. They're all there, easy to see. To give this review some balance, here are some of the negative points. The first thing is the price. It is expensive for a 2-shelf stand, but the description is clear and you know what you're buying. It's just a case of whether you can afford it or not, really. The second negative is also one of its positives, and that's the transparent material. I like the transparent material, but the one disadvantage that has is you can see all the wires and cables. And whilst it might look nice when you first install it in your studio, after a couple of months when it's covered in dust, it's not going to look so pretty. And to state the obvious, the Perspex is a dust and fingerprint magnet. And when I first took it out of the packet, I polished it, and this was the worst thing I could have done, because it just charged it up with static, and all the dust in the room came shooting over to it. Now, I've given you these negative points just for balance, but I'm really pleased with it, and I'm really glad I bought it, and it's going to make my life a lot easier. If you're still watching this review, thank you very much. And if you'd like to support the channel, please like, subscribe and hit the bell icon. And if you'd like to see some free guitar lessons, head on over to www.ebooks4guitar, and there's lots of free lessons there. And if you've subscribed and allowed notifications, you'll be notified when I upload new lessons. Thanks again for watching.